This news alert brought to you by Clubs NT. Make your next choice a local club.
Good evening, I'm Zarisha Bradley with your 9 local news update. There may have been scenes of jubilation on Saturday night with Labor victoriously claiming it would form government for a second term. But it wasn't until late this afternoon it was able to reach the magical number of 13 to claim a majority.
With a spring in his step this morning, Michael Gunner was playing the waiting game.
Obviously feeling confident about forming government in the 13 seats, and we're playing 7 more.
And it's that belief that prompted the jubilant scenes on Saturday night. The leader holding out his arrival until midnight, hoping to claim majority government there and then. But with the counts too close, Mr Gunner did admit his government could have done better over the last term.
We have made mistakes. We have learned lessons.
And so ends a long day and an even longer night. And while the Chief Minister is confident of staying in the top job, he did concede there is still a big battle ahead for several other seats.
And that battle continued today until a surge for Labor in Arnhem, returning Education Minister Selina Yubo and welcoming Mark Monaghan in Fong Lim. That awarded Labor the magical target of at least 13 seats in the Legislative Assembly. Nevertheless, given how tight the count was, speculation has already started as to the future of Mr Gunner's leadership, which he promptly laughed off.
If you're looking for leadership, guys, go to the CLP. In over 20 years, Labor's had 4 leaders. I will remain the leader of the Labor Party.
But that may not be his choice. On election night, Natasha Files steered away from clearly offering her support.
We've shown over the last 4 years that we can work together. We've addressed tough issues and we'll continue to do so.
Mr Gunner also didn't specifically thank his health minister in his speech, despite Ms Files also being front and centre during the pandemic. Nevertheless, he insists there's no problems.
That's not my opinion, and I have no concerns on the issue.
As for the opposition, the CLP is on track for 6 to 7 seats. Leader Leah Finocchiaro laid low today, releasing a statement late this afternoon, conceding defeat, urging Labor to immediately work to fix crime and the economy. And while the CLP didn't change government, it's come a long way since 2016.
The CLP is back.
Now it's back to work. Kathleen Gazzola, 9 News.
Humpty Doo residents had to evacuate their homes this afternoon when a bushfire got close to a number of properties. 9's Ainsley Kosh was there.
Firefighters had their work cut out for them this afternoon when a bushfire was elevated to watch an act for several parts of Humpty Doo. Residents here on Risk Road could only watch on as they were forced to evacuate their homes at around 2 o'clock this afternoon.
My neighbours already had my dogs. I literally put them into the car and literally got right off the block because that fire was right in the reserve.
Fire crews fought the fire from the ground and air as thick black plumes of smoke and flames threatened homes and mango plantations. They also put out several spot fires nearby on Hayball Road, Collard Road, Fred's Pass Road, Barrow Road and Kennedy Road.
It just makes it difficult when you just don't have enough resources, and the wind is actually just giving you a lot of spot fires, which throws the embers ahead of the fire, and you're just trying to respond to that as quickly as you can. There were a number of properties. I'm not aware of any houses damaged, but there has been sheds and other property damage at this stage.
And while we may be moving further into the build-up, firefighters say now is the time to be vigilant and to have active fire breaks in place.
The Chief Health Officer has issued a new direction today, making changes to the mandatory quarantine requirements for people arriving from a declared hotspot. If someone has spent time in a hotspot within the last 14 days, but was in another area not of concern immediately before crossing the border, that time will now be deducted from their required 2 weeks quarantine. The changes came into force from midday. The Territory's newest political party promised to serve as an alliance, but results show voters felt anything but with its candidates. Saturday's devastating result has seen its leader ousted, with just 1 member clinging to her seat.
He's represented the people of Blaine for almost 2 decades, but on Saturday night it all came to a grinding halt. While Terry Mills was still able to hold his head high as the votes rolled in against his party, come Monday morning he was a defeated man.
It certainly has not turned out as we expected.
No one quite knew how Territory Alliance was going to go, and we now know.
The creator of the NT's newest party was not only booted from his own seat, but just one representative out of 21 hopefuls remains in the race.
Terry Mills lured me in. He's a very persuasive person. He had a vision, and I share that vision.
I spoke to Robin today, and she's always a little bit unsure of how things might go, but it does look reasonably positive for Robin.
As for what went so drastically wrong, Mr Mills says the pandemic played a significant role.
Now, I'm not making this as the excuse, but it's an explanation. When COVID started to appear, the pandemic response focused people's thinking in a different direction.
Claiming Labor's campaign, which focused solely on health, appealed more to voters.
In that sort of space, it's very difficult for people to sort of entertain a new approach.
But sources from within Territory Alliance say many candidates were unhappy with its own campaign strategy and leader.
There may have been some, personality clashes from time to time, but they weren't major.
Mr Collins is confident the party will be able to rebuild itself, but he's opted not to run again.
I'm happy to head back to law. That's something that I've missed for 4 years.
As for Terry Mills, he'll head home to WA to be with family. Ellie Conway, 9 News.
As Labor claims a majority government for a second term, the message from the private sector is clear. Get on with the job. Business leaders want to see plans in place to fix the economy. With the election now behind us, the grim reality sets in of the task ahead.
$8.2 billion in debt. That's a long time to recover from. Not a big chunk of it belongs to coronavirus, and we've got a lot of work to do.
We don't get out of it with one big bang. We get out of this situation we're in right now by making lots and lots of really good decisions and making them quickly.
With the campaign waged solely on coronavirus and not party policies, private sector stakeholders won't be wasting any time getting ministers to the table.
We'll wait and see who forms the key ministries within the government. We'll want to talk to them very quickly.
The government gave us a commitment that it would sort out land access agreements for the onshore gas industry in the first 100 days of a re-elected government. So we're keen to see that go into place as soon as possible.
We've put our submissions into the Reconstruction Commission with respect to the detail. We're looking forward to fleshing that out over the next month or two.
It's all systems go for business to drive economic development in the NT, as international tourism is off the cards for the foreseeable future.
I think they're pretty clear on what we're chasing. We want to see expenditure on roads and roads infrastructure. We want to see work done on the biosecurity improvement.
The one thing that business wants is certainty, and then they want momentum.
What we can't afford for the next 4 years is some of the delays we've seen during the last 4.
The Territory's future relies on it. Thank you for joining us. We'll have more news shortly.